Oh, hello and welcome. Oh, yeah, I'm having trouble here with the light. Sorry, I'm trying to make it there. That's not too bad. Hello and welcome to today's video. And so this is a live broadcast, and it's coming to you from inside my motorhome. And I'm going to turn the noise off over here. Sorry, just turned that noise off. I should have done that before I started. And anyway, so today I like to, normally I like to do motor videos outside, and I know the camera here is not very good, so I'll try and not to move around too much. I prefer to do it outside. I always think it's more interesting. Unfortunately, today, when on my other channel I did and it just wouldn't connect, and this wasn't nothing to do with the internet. This was YouTube messing me around, and anyway, good. So I'd rather it outside, but I can't. I will try now to do more related news related to Ukraine war related things as they happen. I think, unfortunately, the last 3 months it wasn't even possible for me because I was doing what I normally do. But anyway, now I have a little bit more time available. So we've seen since last a major Ukrainian advances. I know that I said in May on more than one occasion that the Ukrainian army wasn't capable of doing an offensive. And the reason I said this was because of things I had observed myself in Ukraine, because I believed it was not up to combined arms operation. That is, for example, combining artillery, infantry, aircraft movement on the ground. And I was wrong. So there, I'm very pleased to say that I was wrong on that one. The liberation of large parts of eastern Ukraine has now put the fascist invaders in a bit of a quandary, because it means to say that it looks as though they could very well lose this war. And as a result of this, two things have happened, which both have happened in Russia. Three things, I should say, really. First thing is that there's going to be some referendum in 4 of the occupied areas, 4 occupied oblasts, so Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and in parts of the south of Dnipropetrovsk, what in the oblast now, anyway. And how embarrassing. And I'm going to predict that there's going to be a 97% across the board support for the annexation by Russia. And I'm predicting that because it's based on their previous performances and on looking at previous referenda. And that, for example, when Hitler had his referendum on the occupation of Austria, and that was rather daft, because it assumed that everybody who wasn't Jewish voted for union with Germany, and 90% of all Jews in Germany, in Austria, also voted for the Nazi occupation. So that was not very well thought out. The thing about the occupation of the Crimea was that in the plan to occupy it was brilliantly, no matter how evil it was, but it was brilliantly carried out, and that no one can deny. But they had all these years to falsify to the election results, and they still, on Russian television, actually showed 121% turnout in support of Russian occupation in Sevastopol. So despite all of these years, they still couldn't get the mathematics right. In this case here, they don't really have to worry about the mathematics too much, because huge amounts of the population have actually fled. In my time in Ukraine, I met a great deal of refugees from above all from the Donbass, and a great deal. In fact, there were some refugee centers where almost everybody there was from the Donbass. And so it seems to me, to a large extent, for example, here in Poland and Germany, One meets people who come from all over the country, and in Ukraine itself, and this is my personal observation, in central and western Ukraine, most of the victims, the refugees, are from the area of the Donbass. Anyway, just my observation. That's number one thing. There's going to be these referendum. Now, the point of having these referendum, I think, is then to declare that this is part of Russia, and Russian law does not permit mobilized soldiers, conscripts, to be sent outside of Russian territory. So, as this is now Russian territory, so to speak, the Russian conscripts can be sent there. Now, Putin's announced this mobilization. Now, we don't know how many people it will affect. It will affect 300,000 or more. There's been now, even on Russian television, state television even used the word 1 million. And so, I mean, 1 million from a population that's of 145 million, something like that in Russia. That's a huge. And the thing is, like this, obviously they won't possibly be much good as soldiers immediately, but as these people already have had training, it is to a certain extent a bit of bit concern. They may say that these soldiers won't be much good in as far as quality is concerned. But to quote, I can't remember who it was, might have been Clausewitz, who said that might have been, I can't remember who it was, who said that quantity has a quality all of its own, and I think there is a lot of truth to that. What we have seen, of course, is very brave Russian people, Russian patriots, taking to the streets and protesting, and they really deserve all the support we can give them. If there's anything we can do for these heroes who are really facing the brutality of the regime. I saw now something about the torture of female prisoners in Russia under a Russian having been arrested by Putin's thugs and Putin's police. Even a friend of mine who I saw in Germany, only was talking to him in some depth a couple of weeks ago. I even arranged work for him. Told him, not as my opinion was, he shouldn't go back at all. I couldn't find work for his wife, but I said for him I could definitely find work for him. And unfortunately, he did think about it, but he decided to go back. And I very much hope he won't reach that situation. So the point of having this mobilization is in response to the Ukrainian victories in the field, and the point of these referendums, the results of which are a foregone conclusion, are to be able to say that this is Russian territory. Now, the next thing, as far as that's concerned, is if this can be said to be Russian territory, then there is also the risk of nuclear use as well. And according to, once more, Russian doctrine, nuclear weapons can only be used if there's an actual threat to Russian territory itself. There is clearly now an element of worry to this, that this happened. Although I personally, I still don't think they'd go that far. I get once more a quote from the Second World War. I know it's wrong to compare one Nazi regime from the past with a Nazi regime from the present, but Hitler did have access to sarin gas. It was produced not so far now, and this gas was not used, and the reason it wasn't used, as far as I can tell, is because they thought it was so easy to produce that the Western allies would be able to do the same thing back to them. So it's not absolutely certain. It needs to be pointed out that, of course, in what Putin said himself, that those who threaten us with nuclear weapons must realize that the wave of the winds of nuclear radiation or something like that can blow in their direction too, and that should really, nobody's threatening Russia with nuclear weapons. But I think in what he said there, is that you should realise that the use of these things can actually come back. As far as nuclear is concerned, I would say, listen, two of my previous partners, one who was in Kiev when Chernobyl went up, she was okay, but the friend that she was with on that day had to have her womb removed, and she was what, 12 years old at the time, so she could never have children. And another former partner was in a place called Twince, and she spent more than 10 years looking after children who were mainly from what is today Belarus, who had been who got diseases because of the Chernobyl accident. There is this. I personally don't think it'll come to nuclear, but if it does, then the people who fire these things have got to realise that they can also become victims of it. Now, there's another thing as well, is as I mentioned about in the title, draconian penalties, and here I've got in front of me some of the draconian penalties which were introduced today, I believe, or yesterday, 24th September, 23rd, yesterday. So, and deserters can get 10 years in a penal colony, and that is, and it goes up in stages. So you can get 5 years if you're a soldier, and you go absent without leave between 2 and 10 days, and for being absent from 10 days to a month, you can get 7 years in prison, and over a month, then you get 10 years. I've got these, I've got the penalties there in front of me. So, and this is quite, I mean, it's quite drastic because the way they would interpret it, obviously, if somebody's in a frontline unit and they desert, then clearly they have to be punished. There's no that is utterly clear. But if somebody gets conscripted, for example, we've now seen people being conscripted at work, which is really ridiculous. Take people and so they get conscripted at work and forced to go to a then they desert somehow. They've got to have to make sure they get out the country, because being in a Russian prison for all that time, I don't suppose is particularly pleasant. And certainly, I mean, if anybody's going to desert, and it depends how quickly they come back. I'd be interested to hear what other people from their armies happened to them. There was when I was in the army, somebody went missing during basic training. We got, I think it was a day and a half off, and he didn't come back, and then he was kicked out. But that was it. He was just kicked out, nothing else. Right. Vegard asks, can Putin use a dirty nuclear bomb? Yes, I think he can do. I don't think there's anything stopping him doing that as such, except maybe whatever restrictions there are in Russia. Now, one of the things, I was talking to somebody who is a supporter of Putin and supports this fascist invasion only last month, and he was going about Ukraine possessing nuclear weapons, which is absolute nonsense. But this is the sort of stuff which is being peddled. Not only that, they have the propaganda. Anybody who wants to see and understand Russian, wants to see you can access it without any problem. You can see, you can hear the nonsense that they're spouting out about how Americans got nuclear weapons in Ukraine and this type of thing, and the Ukraine, the war in Ukraine was started by the Americans. This is the official line, and people are believing this. Now, the thing is this, nobody has threatened Russia whatsoever. Now, Chris says there's audio issues. I'm sorry. I can sort this one out, because I accept the fact that there may be issues. I'm looking for my microphone here. We'll try this, see if this works any better. Tell me if it's any better. If it doesn't, then we're stuck. Yeah. Is that better or not? Is that better or worse? Oh no, hang on, it's not on. Okay, there we go. Is that better or worse? Right, better or worse? Down. Everything's going off now. I'm going to have to get up and turn this thing on again. Right, good. Sorry. Unclear. You can't hear anything now. Unclear. So do I leave the microphone on or shall I take it off? I don't know. Anyway, good. All right. I don't know what we're saying now. So yeah. So what the Russian people are the better now. Thank you. What the Russian people are hearing anyway. Bear in mind there is no opposition TV. There's no TV which are neutral any longer. Although Russian people do have access to YouTube. But the overwhelming bulk of the population is listening to this nonsense which is being put out about how Russia is under attack. This is how every fascist style regime, or communist as well, works. It's that they make up enemies. They have to find enemies. Once they find enemies, and that is why they try to unite people. So they look for enemies, look for people who are against them, and that allows them more or less to do it. Still breaking up. Oh, what a pity! It's a good subject, this one as well. It could be the internet connection. I can do something about that as well. But I'll know it for the next time. I won't use this internet connection. I'm on a campsite, and I'm using the internet. I could just use mine as well. But mine's I've got what do you call it, the fast thing on mine. So it could well be the internet, not the thing. Anyway, so right, so as the Russian people are being told that they are under attack, the thing is, this is very difficult now for the regime to make this even more extreme, because they've already, it's a lie. Russia isn't under attack by anybody, and certainly not the Putin regime isn't under attack. What the Putin regime fears is the Russian people. It is nothing to do. This war is all about keeping Putin in power. It's to make sure that what happened in Kazakhstan doesn't happen to him. And he doesn't want to find himself in the situation he found himself in 1989, when the German people overthrew the communist regime in East Germany. He doesn't want to be in that situation ever again. And this is his entire policy. His mistake was made to start this war. He could have gone on, finished off his term. He could have either kept all the money he's stolen. He's easily the richest person in the world. His wealth is something like that of the entire debt of Africa, and personal wealth. And this money from the Russian people was stolen from the Russian people. It wasn't stolen from any foreigners. So this is what the regime fears, and this is what this is all about. I have to say is that I do note that the mobilization is that of ethnic minorities in Russia. So this rather reminds me of the situation in the Vietnam War, where the black and you get a college deferment. And when somebody did a prank call on Peskov, and Peskov's son indicated that it was genuine Peskov's son, it wasn't somebody else, indicated that he has certain rights that aren't available to others. Okay, then I won't continue. I'll try again in different circumstances. I'll try again outside. I won't use the internet from here again. That's probably what the problems were. Thanks to those of you who are here, and the next trial will be outside. All the best from me in Wrocław, Poland. Thanks for being here.